So as always, I want to invite people to put aside anything else they've been doing. Stroking the cat is okay, as long as the cat closes its eyes and breathes with you, ideally. So dropping into a relaxed place. Starting with some conscious breath. And I'm going to ask people to just be muted unless they're speaking. And if you aren't muted, being really tuned into any sounds you might be making. So again, if you can keep yourselves muted, that'd be wonderful. And taking some conscious breaths at your own pace. And on every exhale, we let go whatever thoughts, whatever else was going on this morning, we let it go. And on the inhale, we come into our bodies. We come into the consciousness of our body. Exhale, releasing, letting go of the mind and any thoughts. Inhale, we're coming into our body. And together we're creating a sacred container. Even though we're in different parts of the world, we all create this sacred container. A safe place where we're going to learn and witness and experience. Learning how to manage our triggers, our emotions, our fears, our hurt, our pain. Learning how to manage that, how to honor it, is so fundamentally important as human beings, and certainly as coaches. So we're slowing down. Slowing down our pace. And notice right now what's going on inside of your body. Are there any specific body sensations? Any places where there might be discomfort? Are there any distractions going on inside your mind? Any places where you're struggling to stay focused on my voice and on my commands? What's your emotional state? Did you come into today's room with any specific emotions going on? Are those emotions, those feelings still going on inside of you, or are they shifting and dissipating as you slow down and drop into the class? Just taking an inventory of your state. When you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. And using the chat box, and for a couple of you that are new, there's a chat box. If you take your cursor down to the bottom, a little bit to the right, click on the chat box. And I invite everybody to put into the chat box anything that came up for you. Just your body sensations, your feelings, popping into the chat box. What came up for you? And again, anybody coming in late, we're just getting in touch with what's going on inside of our body, what's going on inside of us, so that we're present to our body, present to our being. And after you've written what's alive for you, maybe taking a look at your course mates. What are some of the things going on? Everything from peaceful and calm, gratitude, residual sadness dissolving into this moment of calm. So all the different experiences that we might be having. And of course, as we read what other people have written, we can relate. It's just about everything that people are writing down, our experiences we've had. Our feelings, our body sensations are all universal, right? That's why we speak in the language of feelings and needs and values, because they're all universal. And again, inviting everybody to pop something into the chat box, something you're noticing about how you're feeling, any body sensations, taking an inventory. I think we all can relate to what Anna Prabhu wrote, racing thoughts of everything I need to get done. Frustrated, okay, focused intention, clarity, calm down. Fatigue, frustration, ease, calm and grateful. See, and there's no right or wrong. None of these are good or bad. They're just all part of the human experience. So if need be, tune into Debbie's gratitude and calm. Sometimes that's what we can do. We can even look at somebody that's in a calm, centered space, and we can access it. It reminds us, oh yeah, that's what it's like to feel calm and centered. So welcoming everybody. Thank you for being here on Saturday. I'm really excited that I get to primarily turn the class over to one of my dearest and closest friends, who's a brilliant teacher. Rajyo has taught workshops all over the world. She was in a partnership for many years and now is kind of flying more solo professionally. She's married to one of my best friends, and it's kind of amazing. Rajyo was my wife's best friend, and then she married one of my best friends, and so we've all been part of the same community, global community, for many, many years. And so the spotlight is on you, Rajyo, and thank you for being with us this morning, and I am now turning the class over to you.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here with everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, yes, we can.
Good. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here. And as I was thinking about this class, of course, being the guinea pig and being in a constant laboratory myself, I had a good opportunity to watch my own triggers this morning. So, Scott, can you text the link or email the link to Vinny? You got it? Because he wants to be on too.
Sure, I'll email it to him.
Thank you. Yeah, so we had a luxurious morning of being able to have a date this morning. And so there we were. And we always have a sharing and a check-in at first. And I listened very attentively and very presently and fed back to him what I heard him saying. And then I got triggered by him not being attuned to me in the way I needed or wanted or wished for or hoped for. And it sent me reeling into a very early state that I'm all too familiar with. And of course, it's a childhood wound, a veil of past pain of mine, where that lack of attunement really wasn't present for me as a child. And I got to really work in my own system with managing that trigger and working it through on a somatic level. So I'm really excited about this class, that I get to teach what I'm also continually learning. And I have been, and we worked it through, and we had an amazing time, and it was different than we'd planned, but it was very deep and beautiful, and brought us into greater intimacy. And so what I'm going to be sharing today comes from my probably 10, 12 years of somatic experiencing practice, working with clients. And I'm really appreciating it when I work with individual clients or in groups, and just in my own system and in the world, seeing how so much of the activation that we feel happening within ourselves, within relationships, and in the world is all due to unresolved trauma. That's I'm sure, no great news to anybody. It's quite obvious. But as we do that, it really is amazingly powerful to know that we can work these traumas through in our system. And all the triggers that we feel and we experience in relationship are all due to that early childhood trauma being triggered. And it's great to know about that. And sometimes, as I experienced this morning, very difficult to actually work with in the moment. So we're all going to get a chance to practice and work with each other in that. And a lot of it has to do, as Scott was saying in the meditation, with slowing down, to be present with, because what happened in the earlier situation as children, nobody was present with us. So we abandoned ourselves and we left ourselves. And it's very hard to be present with ourselves when that trigger is happening, when that trauma is reactivated. The last thing we want to do is stay with the feelings, the agitation, the frustration, and the pain that we were really unable to manage as children. So we have to have a lot of compassion for ourselves, deep, deep self-compassion. And I know you've all been working with Scott to really understand the triggers and to develop emotional intelligence. And for me, the piece with the trauma healing and the somatic experiencing is one of the most advanced forms of psychotherapy. I think we all know by now that talk therapy doesn't really work. You can talk about the wounds and the triggers and the traumas forever, and they don't necessarily resolve. But somatic experiencing involves the triune brain, and bringing all those parts of the brain online to regulate the nervous system through body awareness, through the somatic awareness in the body, really helps things to integrate and come back online. And please, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box, and Scott can maybe track that, because I can't, talk and track at the same time. So, and then, you can ask the questions as I go along. So the reptilian brain is one that I know you're all familiar with. And that is actually our survival instinct. It's got a very, very valuable purpose. It helps us track for danger. It helps us know when to fight or when to flee or when to go into freeze mode. And the animals out in the wild, when you watch animals in the wild, they're very familiar with those three survival instincts. And we are too. And the reptilian brain really helps us with that. It really helps us know when there's danger and how to respond to it. And the reptilian brain activates that fight or flight response And when that's not available, it tells us to go into shut down and freeze, which for many of us as babies, as children, that's what we did. We went into shut down and freeze. We couldn't fight, we couldn't flee. And so we went into shut down and freeze as a survival response. You know, if we cry and cry and cry when our needs aren't getting met, the only thing to do after that is get angry. That's the fight response. And then to go into freeze, we shut down. And so often when we're triggered now, what's being activated is those responses that got shut down way back when. The other survival response, which many of us will try as a first resort as children, is social engagement. And you know how babies, when they have a need, when they need mama's milk or when they need to be held, they'll be very endearing and lovable and reach out, and you just want to cuddle them, hold them. That's the social engagement response, which we all need. You know, we're social creatures. And that's what's so nourishing about, you know, this class and being with Scott and being in community. We get that social engagement need met. So that's a core survival need that is met. So all these reptilian brain responses are very, very needed. And the trouble is they get stuck on when those early childhood traumas are overwhelming and unable to manage. And so they continually get reactivated in our relationships and in our life. So that's a little bit about the reptilian brain. The limbic brain is the one that helps us be emotionally healthy and relate to other humans in an emotionally intelligent way. There's much more to that, but that's the basic purpose of the limbic brain. The neocortex, the frontal part of the brain, helps us understand and make sense of our experience. And so in trauma healing, the healthy functioning parts of the brain are all brought back online and they work together. When there's severe trauma, which, you know, we've all experienced degrees of, these healthy functioning and relationship between the three gets disrupted. And that's when we start, you know, getting overactivated, over-triggered, because we are trying to get our needs met. So is that clear for everybody, the three parts of the brain and how they work together? Any questions about that?
Is that a question that I saw, Mimi?
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. So one part in getting stuck in overwhelm, please correct me if I don't have this correct. What is being activated are the responses we did not have access to where we needed support as a child or at the moment of the wound creation. Is that accurate?
Your question is?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I understood what you were saying. So I kind of like took what you were saying and put it into a different way of saying it. What is being activated when we're triggered are the responses that we did not have access to.
Yes, exactly.
At the moment that the wound was created.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's exactly right. Thank you for asking that question because it helps me to clarify the basic difference between us as humans and animals in the wild is that if you notice animals in the wild, they are traumatized many times a day. Animals of prey, you know, the deer that we see out in nature, you know, prey animals, they are constantly being traumatized, being chased by the tiger. Sorry, my cat is trying to chase the birds, which are outside. And yet they don't get traumatized. They don't spend the rest of their lives cowering in a corner or, you know, totally freaked out. They have an ability to feel it, let it move through their system, shake it off, and move on. And even though this may happen many times a day, There's no imprint of it in their memory. And what happens with us is we get stuck because we don't have access to those responses. We don't know how to express them at the time, and they get stuck in our system, and we continually replay them. And as you may notice, we act them out, and we attract relationships that will trigger those very traumas. Why? Because we're unconsciously trying to heal them. So that's where we can take responsibility. It's like, oh, I see why I'm creating those dynamics and those relationships over and over and over again, because my system in its infinite intelligence is trying to help me heal them, right? Oh, wow. So that to me is like breakthrough.
I want to riff on that for a minute because it's really big. Because most of us, when we keep repeating a trauma pattern, go into what's wrong with me? Why do I keep repeating this? And it adds or can add to a sense of shame or guilt or what's wrong with me. But if we can embrace that life in its infinite wisdom through us is recreating variations of the same thing so that we can learn how to really fully, I like to say, honor, manage, and hopefully heal it.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you, Scott.
I'm just curious for people, like, who is that kind of like a new reframe of looking at that part of you that's repeating certain patterns? How many of you, by raise of hands, I'm not going to call on you, is that like a new way of looking at this kind of patterning? Okay, about half. Okay, good. All right, go ahead, Rajyo.
Thank you. Yeah. And it really is, the shame that we feel when we're coming to a new awareness, and even around some of the patterns that we continually get caught in, is also, in a way, part of the coming out of the freeze mode. When we've been frozen, we may not feel a whole lot, The freeze is the playing dead that the animal does, and our systems, our nervous systems, our emotional bodies, we get frozen because we cannot allow ourselves to feel that much overwhelming feelings that we have no control over. So as we evolve, as we grow, as we get in relationship, we may feel shame around, oh my God, how come I keep doing this? What's wrong with me? But it's actually good news, oh, I'm feeling more now than I was able to feel then. It's all a process. And so again, to have deep compassion for ourselves in these places. So I want to go a little bit deeper into the nervous system and how it works. So you probably know there's two parts to the nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the sympathetic nervous system is the one that helps us survive danger. It helps us manage, when there's a real threat to us. Being chased by a wild tiger, being in the fight, flight, or freeze response. That is the part of the nervous system that helps us, get activated when there's a real threat. Now, as I've said, being a baby and not being fed or being abandoned or being abused, that's a real threat. Probably what's happening in our relationships these days is not a real threat, but our nervous system responds as if it is. It's like as if I'm going to die. So it's a survival response, and if it's a healthy sympathetic nervous system, it will know how to get activated and how to settle again. So it goes through waves. Many of us in this culture are perpetually in a trauma response, perpetually in an activated state. And as we see in our world, it goes on and on, escalating. So what we're going to practice today is learning how to notice the activation and then how to bring it back to settling. Because in a healthy nervous system, it goes through its waves. As the wild animal is getting chased by the tiger, it's activated, everything's engaged, ready to fight or to flee, and then it settles. As soon as that danger's gone, back to eating the grass, back to enjoying life, which is actually what we're here to do. So this is part of the resourcing ourselves and regulating our own nervous system. The work of that is to learn how to come back to parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, tend and mend, feel and heal. Or I should say feel and heal first. Feel and heal, tend and mend, rest and digest. So how do we regulate the nervous system? We do that directly through working with the body. In trauma, as I noticed this morning, I have to say, it's like when that activation, when that trigger is there, because we're not very familiar and it's often not appropriate to fight or to flee. And I have more skilled now than just to shut down, even though that's what the system wants to do, is I want to shut down. And then what happens is the head center gets very activated with all the stories about why this is happening and, what you did to me and and this is always the way it is and this, you never do this. And this is a sign that there's major trauma being activated. And I could watch that. I was like, wow, my head is really full of stories here. And I noticed that when I'm saying always and never, that always means it's a past pain being triggered. It's a childhood wound that maybe it felt like that when I was a child. I'm always feeling this way because nobody is ever there for me. And of course, my husband was totally present with me. He's like, what can I do? So it was nothing to do with the current situation, but I was watching all this. My head center was really active with all the stories. And it was hard to stay in my body with the feelings. But I was tracking it, I was watching it, and I just needed to give it time. My heart was racing, my jaw was clenched. My feeling was I wanted to fight, I wanted to run, I wanted to shut down, and I just had to watch it and be present with all those feelings going on, which is the hardest thing to do when it's really happening. And I wanted to blame him, and it's your fault for making me feel this way, and Anybody, does this sound familiar? Okay, thank you. So, and I just told him, I need to take time here. I need to take time to be with this, to feel it and to go through it. And it does take time. When that activation is high, the trigger is right up, to take time to really be present with it until it goes through its wave. So what often we don't want to do is be present with it. We want to make the other person wrong. We want to, make them fix it. We want to get our needs met from them over there. But the deepest need, I have to say, is that we can be present with ourselves, that we cannot abandon ourselves in that moment. So this is the way to true healing, to be willing to fully feel what is happening in the body and not leave, to feel it fully and not pick up a single defense or escape from the feeling. It will pass. It is tolerable now. It may not have been tolerable when we were babies, when we were very young, but it's tolerable now. And that way, the nervous system in its own infinite intelligence can do the work of bringing us back to homeostasis. So,
Roger, two things, a thought, and then Daniel Moe had a good question in the chat box that I want him to ask you. But You know, as you're talking, what it's reminding me of is that one of the differences between us and animals is that we have this memory, we remember and we intellectualize it, and then we play it over and over and over, as opposed to just having the experience, processing it, and releasing it. Right.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, because actually, we have this wonderful intelligence. We have this head center. We have the memory, function online. And so then we end up, replaying things. But I feel and know that a lot of why this is so active within us is because we've forgotten how to fully be in our bodies. If we're fully in our bodies and letting things move through naturally, organically, and holistically, then the head center can be much more quiet. And then it can be used for the true intelligence that it's meant to be, not, rehashing the old wounds and projecting onto the future in some time and place that I was or will be happier. It's available to just be present and be in the, experience of life rather than, all the other stuff that we do with our minds. So thank you, Scott. That's a good point.
Yeah, Laura made a good point in the chat box about, that we have the fear it's going to happen again. So our fear of it happening again keeps us in the loop, or diminishes our ability to really let it go.
That's so true. That's so true.
Daniel, I'd love for you to ask the question that you brought up in the chat box to Rajyo. I think it would be good for the whole class to hear the question and her response.
Hi, Rajyo. Wow, this is really deep and meaningful to me, what you're talking about this morning. My question is, what's missing in our modern culture, and is it in the modern culture or just humanity in general, that makes our nervous system unhealthy in its processing of our experiences? Like, did we have it at one point and lose it, or is it the Western culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one I'm very busy with myself, and I think we live in an increasingly traumatized and traumatizing world, and unfortunately, many of us don't have good parenting, and many kids are seriously abused and abandoned and unloved in a healthy, wholesome way, and that goes on creating, more and more unhealthy adults. And I'm also aware that this whole victim perpetrator dynamic, as when we're victimized as children, this is going a little off topic here, but when we're victimized, when we feel, our basic needs aren't met, then we go on in life trying to get those needs met. This is talking more on a cultural level rather than, individually. We go on meeting those needs in a way that is, again, very unhealthy, by perpetrating others, creating more victims and more perpetrators, and on it goes. The kids that are, going off to war because they feel so unloved, so they go kill people, and they're like, okay, then that'll give me some sense of purpose. It's like, it's not working. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a big subject.
Yeah, I guess, can I just elaborate a little bit? Do you think there were some cultures, or maybe even indigenous cultures, that were more in touch with this process than us intellectuals in the modern world?
There are earth-based cultures in Africa, in Australia, here in America. They're close to the land, and they understand their instinctive, natural relationship with the land, and with family, with community, with clan, with the cosmos. And because they have that larger sense of belonging, they understand that what they do to the web, to any part of the web, themselves or another, affects the whole field. And so, and also the whole field is taking care of them. If somebody's you know, if somebody's acting out, the whole village would come and say, hey, what's going on? You know, and the whole village would be involved and engaged in their healing. And that's what we don't have in this culture. We're all so isolated and alone and lost in a way. There's a deep loneliness of soul that is really so tragic because it's destroying our world, you know.
You know, I want to riff on that for a minute. It's a great question, and I love your response, Rajyo. And in a healthy tribal culture, and to some degree it can exist in our culture, like Rajyo said, when someone's acting out, instead of shaming them, judging them, we seek to understand. And that's, I just want to tie it in, that's love coaching. As we talk with people and we hear their challenges, whatever it is they've done, they feel bad about or guilty about, we don't judge it. We seek to understand it. And we understand it by recognizing they were trying to get their needs met when they did whatever it is they did. But overall, our Western culture is very shame-based. The Judeo-Christian dogmatic versions of those religions are very, very shameful, right? And so learning and part of the repair work is for us to create safety, that when any of us are struggling to receive that unconditional love, care, and seeking to be understood, or for us to seek to understand the other, as opposed to adding to the make wrong story, the guilt, the shame, the you're bad story. Laura.
Hi guys, I just had a thing about, I've heard about this one culture, and I don't know where it was, but where if somebody did something wrong or bad in the culture, they would sit them in a circle with everybody, and if it took 2 or 3 days, every single person would go up to the person who did something wrong or bad and tell them what they thought was wonderful about them. And they would do it until that person who did the wrong act or whatever, until they felt happier and everybody was more peaceful, and they had very little incidences of people acting out in a negative way. So I just wanted to share that.
That actually comes from Reverend Michael. Reverend Michael Beckwith tells that story. And yeah, it's an amazing turnaround. It's like when someone is acting out, they need to be remembered, you know, to finally remember their goodness, right? So thank you for bringing that up. That's a beautiful, beautiful example and story. Anuprabha.
Yeah, and that's especially important with like children, when you're raising children, is that to focus on when they're doing something good, right? Oftentimes parents, they have a little bit of time and they don't hear anything. They don't hear anything breaking, anybody fighting. So they carry on and they don't pay attention until something breaks. And then they yell at their child, you know, what are you doing? And so you're teaching each other, getting reinforcement for doing negative things. So if you, we can do that with adults as well, right? We can say, well, I really like how you're calling me up or how you're connecting with me. But with children, you want to say, before they do something bad, you say, wow, I really love how you're playing with your toys. I love how you're using that blue color, you know, and just like really give them attention when they're just, you know, playing really well or being really sweet, you know.
Allison, you're up. And then Allison and then Aaron.
Good morning, everyone. And Rajyo, thank you so much for this this information, which is so helpful to me and I think to all of us. So thank you very much. It's nice to meet you. I just wanted to share a method that we use to apply, Laura, what you said so beautifully about positive reinforcement. And we do it in our family, but I think it might be helpful, and I'll try to be succinct. When I notice that my 2 children are bickering, usually at the dinner table, if we start dinner in a kind of a everybody's bothered by everybody else mode, then we call a pause and we go around the table and each person shares one thing that they particularly love about each person in the family. And we do it until the bad feelings go away. It works every time. So I just wanted to share that because sometimes in a situation of a couple, we all want to be love coaches, so I'm just kind of applying this. Sometimes you just need a reset. And when you're feeling really frustrated and triggered by someone, just having that person say, you know, I really appreciate this about you. This is something I particularly love about you. That gratitude and that acknowledgement it's just powerful medicine. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Am I cool to go, Scott?
Yes, please, Aaron.
I just want to affirm how powerful this is, what you're all talking about, because I heard from Dr. Bruce Lipton that embryonic cells in a lab literally become the thought-formed emotions projected on them by the subconscious mind. So if the cell does that, us as souls clearly do that as well, right? We all become what we're known to be, both of ourselves and from the exterior influence. And so, Laura, thank you so much for that. Our affirming words of the goodness is, to me, the best healing we can receive. And I love that that tribe was rocking that. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm really appreciating everybody's sharings. By the way, I know we do have a couple new people. And if you're new to Zoom, in the upper right-hand corner, you can choose gallery view where you see everybody, or you can choose speaker view where you see whoever's speaking. And again, there's a chat box down below at the very bottom, a little bit to the right. Rajyo, do you think we're ready to move into the practice?
Yeah, I'll explain it and then we can move into it. So, so it sounds very simple and it's not easy. So in this practice, you're gonna think of a trigger. Maybe it's a current trigger or something you remember from the past, or it could be, you know, that one that just gets set off that is, you know, takes you right back to that childhood wound. So think of a trigger that, you know, feels up for you in some way right now. It's best if you're working it through physically, you know, rather than just thinking about it from memory, because it's really a somatic practice that can really move it through. So we're going to work in triads, and one person's going to be the client, one person's going to be the coach, and the other person is going to be the witness or the facilitator. And so the client is going to, you know, and I guess the person that has the most up for them right now, it goes first. So the client is going to think of that trigger and then really be willing to feel it in the body. So you're not going to go into too much story, you know, a little bit of the story just to say, hey, like for me this morning, when I sense my husband isn't attuned to me, I go ballistic, you know, I just want to just, you know, fight, flee, freeze, everything, you know, just, you know, game's off. And what's really happening there, you know? So then you go inside and you be willing to feel every nuance of what's happening on a physical level. Okay, I notice my jaw is tight. My heart is racing. My breath is shallow. I feel shut down. My muscles tightening. And I don't want to move. And there's a lot of activity in my brain. My brain is going, it's firing off like crazy. So as I feel that, as I sense that, I'm also feeling like a wail of like a deep sadness inside that my needs are never going to get met. Mm-hmm. So that's the initial layer that I'm aware of. And, you know, then you just stay present with what else might be happening. And if you really pay attention, there's a lot happening in this body. And you just get curious and explore it. And the coach is going to really help you stay present in the body. You might ask questions. Where do you feel that in the body? What's that like? Is it hot or cold? You know, tell me more about that. Those are the kind of questions you want to ask. You don't want to ask them, you know, where did that come from? Things that take them into the past or the story, or because it's actually not relevant. You know, we all want to tell our story. It's endlessly milkable, this story. How long have we been telling our stories, right? And it never changes, really. It's the same thing. But the body is in present time. That's why these animals in the wild can move on from the triggers and the traumas like that, because they're in the body. So that's where you want to keep it, in the body, in present time. That's the place where the healing happens. And all of us want to go off, you know, oh, I just need to tell you this story about what happened and how bad it was, or go into a big emotional wave. And there may be feelings and emotions. That's fine, but let them pass through as waves and not a, you know, kind of, you know, stuck or fixed point. So that's the work, is to really stay present in the body. Client and the coach, you help them stay present, keep pointing them back. If the trigger or trauma feels unmanageable or overwhelming, you want to help the client to really ground in their physical body. So you want to create a safe place with your presence and with your love and your empathy and attention. You don't need to say too much, but your eyes and your heart and your being, your holding environment can provide that safe space that we didn't have as children to feel this. So you're that space for them now. And you want to help them if the feelings are overwhelming. And actually, first of all, as you go into the session, to really help them sense their physical environment, sense your butt on this chair, sense your feet on the floor. And just these simple things are like, oh, right, it's safe to be here. Because we often didn't know that. Was it really safe to be here? So you actually really help them to just kind of sense the environment, that it's safe right now. You can let go, you can relax. And once that safety is there, things can start to unwind. So keeping them safe, knowing, letting them know they're held, reminding them to come back to the body again and again and again, with your words, with your support. And that's it. And just see what happens. Obviously, we're going to have, not that long, 10 minutes or so. It takes time to really slow things down, to be able to track the subtle nuances of what's happening in the body. So, don't expect huge breakthroughs, but just as a practice, it's starting to learn the practice of doing this for ourselves, for each other. And then the witness or the facilitator, you're just going to watch and see what you notice in this interaction. What do you see the client could have done, or how do they need to be supported, and how could the coach have supported them more? So
we're going to demonstrate this at least twice in front of the class. And we're either going to go into breakout groups, or we may decide to give some of you an opportunity to do it in front of the whole group. I'm kind of actually going back and forth with that now, because it might be interesting. It could go either way. So I had planned on having everybody go into breakout groups, but it also might be interesting to actually stay together as a group, and then really select who wants to play the role of client, who wants to play the role of coach, who wants to play the role of sacred witness. Okay. Especially because we have a lot of new people here, or a few new people. So anyway, we're going to do at least 2 demonstrations in front of the group, and then I'll do a little quick inventory. So we'll start with the first time around, this first demonstration. Rajyo is going to be the coach. I'm going to be the sacred witness, and we need someone who has a genuine trauma that you feel like you can access, that you'd be willing to drop into with the group holding space. And just a reminder for all of us, Daniel, wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking of you, actually. And so for those of us in group, remember that we are sacred witnesses and just really holding sacred space. And here's the little trick. Notice as you're watching, do you get distracted with trying to figure out a way to fix it? Right? When does your mind go into, oh, if only Daniel read this book, or if only Daniel did this, right? Notice where your mind goes into wanting to fix and out of just full presence. It's an interesting little opportunity for all of us to notice when we go out of presence and into our mind wanting to fix it. And we're not here to fix Daniel. We're here to hold space.
Thank you, Scott, for mentioning that. And I also want to say, when we go into fixing mode, it's often because a trauma or an activation is there for us that we're not wanting to feel in ourselves.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Rajyo. Remember that when we want to be present with someone who's having discomfort, we have to manage our discomfort with their discomfort, right? If you've ever been on a playground and you see a child crying and the father comes over and says, "Don't cry," he's not managing his discomfort with his child's discomfort. But we all do that at different times. So when are we wanting to fix because we want to change the scene because we're uncomfortable with it, instead of just being fully present with what is?
And just remember, that nothing needs to happen. That's always, also where we left ourselves, and where, as Scott was saying, the parents were wanting us to be different. So it takes a lot of courage just to be present with what is, without any agenda, for the facilitator, for the coach, and for the client. So that's the gift we're giving each other. Okay. Daniel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So before we begin, I'd just like to invite you to just sense where you are in this moment. I can't see you, folks. Can you spotlight Daniel, Scott?
Can you put it on? Yeah, I'll spotlight him.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Now I can see you. Great. Yeah, so Daniel, just sense where you are right now. Just sense the environment that you're in. Your eyes are open or closed. Just let yourself really let that in. Just know there's nothing you need to do or produce or perform in any way. You can just really let yourself drop in. Be present with yourself. And I'd just like to know what you sense here in this moment as you sense yourself in this environment, mainly in your physical environment right now.
Well, I've been a little bit cool this morning, but now I'm starting to heat up. I'm noticing my hands are sweating. It's raining now a little bit. I have my door open. I can smell it and I can hear it. I'm fairly comfortable in my chair. My ankle hurts a little bit from being in the same position. That's better. My heart is beating a little faster now.
Yeah.
I feel safe and alone right now.
Good. You feel safe and alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, it takes great courage to feel safe and alone with so many people. Yeah.
It helps that I'm not on gallery view.
Yeah, that's good. So tell me a little bit about what's happening.
Yeah, so without the story, I was present and hopeful that what I was doing was like I had really good intentions of being thoughtful and generous and helpful, and then suddenly the response I got to what I was doing was disappointment. And I just, man,
What happened for you in your body?
it, in my body, I just like tensed up. I felt like, yeah, it was immediate. I wanted to like either fight, or just
Yeah.
disappear.
Let's slow that down right now.
Yeah.
So as you say that, I can sense there's some bracing in your shoulders and your arms.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine, first response I heard was to fight.
Yeah.
As you feel that, as you sense that,
Uh-huh.
just go into that a little more and just sense what it would be like to fight. Just let that happen.
Okay. So yeah, my jaw clenches, my hands make fists, my shoulders get tight. I notice my tension in my voice. It wants to be able to make the biggest, scariest sound I can make.
Why don't you make that right now? Yeah, let that happen.
Yeah.
Good. Just feel that power, that energy, that animal in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens now?
So
As you make that sound.
what happens is like almost like a fog clears a little bit, and the feeling of anger dissipates, and then I just feel sad.
Yeah. And just let that sadness be here. It's understandable. You were trying to be helpful. You were trying to be present. And it was not appreciated and seen. What's that sadness like in the body?
In the body, it's like very different from the anger. It's like I just want to let go of everything and just fall into a lump on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's it like inside as you want to let go of everything? What's happening in the body?
It's like I feel my organs all like tender, like Can you ask me another question?
Yeah. Yeah, do you still feel the support of the chair and the room environment?
Okay. Yeah, now I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Good.
Okay. Feel like I'm back present.
Yeah, good. Beautiful. Beautiful. I just really want to acknowledge how deep you went, how much happened in that. And I don't know if this feels complete for now.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I just really want to acknowledge, just how willing you were, how much
Thank
you
you.
let go there. Thank you, Daniel.
Mm,
Beautiful.
thanks.
It's all Twinkle Daniel, and just so much appreciation for his being willing to be so present and so that's a beautiful gift you just gave all of us, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rajyo, for your beautiful facilitation.
You want to say anything, Scott, about what you saw, what you experienced?
Yeah. And before I do, I just want to say to the class, I'm really getting the hit. I want us to stay in group because it's such tender work. I'm imagining instead of going into breakout rooms, staying in group and watching, all of us watching together. I think that would be getting the instinct to do that. Of course, your facilitation is beautiful, Rajyo. I'm wondering, as a question, when Daniel had his first roar, it takes a lot to get there, especially with people watching, especially as men. And I know Daniel's a very gentle soul, right? Roaring is not his second nature, right? And so I noticed there was a part of me wanting to support him to stay in the roar, to go, to keep roaring, because it's not an easy place to go to. And so, again, not a right or a wrong, but I'm wondering for you, Daniel, what would it have been like if we had supported you to stay in that roar space even longer? What would that have been like for you? And is that something that might have been valuable for you?
Well, I meet with my men's group, my MKPI group, every week. And I've actually gotten quite a bit of practice of roaring.
Okay.
It's not second nature, but I think it felt like after that roar, even before the prompting, I was already going into sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like a deep, complete, like I put it all into that little roar.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question for you. When after the roar and then the sadness and then you wanted to collapse,
Mm-hmm.
was the collapse, I just wanted to check out? Was it because it seemed as though there was almost a desire to check out, and then Rajyo brought you back into your body and back into presence?
Right.
And I'm just curious, that's what I was telling myself was going on. So I'm curious if that was accurate or not.
Well, at first, when I just felt like dropping into a lump on the floor, it felt like I just wanted to curl into the fetal position and hug myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did check out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when I asked, can you ask me another question? Because I was, not in touch with my feelings or this chair,
Mm-hmm. So you kind of left your body.
Yeah. Just like went into the place where I didn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, can I say something?
Of course.
It's important to remember that these responses are deeply withheld in us. And so when the expression comes, it doesn't mean that they have to be, overly, loudly, fully expressed or acted out. As you said, that roar was enough. It was like we felt the power and the intensity and the energy of it, and it was there. Then it moved into sadness, and that's how quickly the nervous system is able to to morph and change when it's given permission, when it's given space to do so. And that anger was genuinely there. I could feel it and sense it in your body before you expressed it. And then the sadness was the deeper layer that was that was right there.
Yeah.
And then underneath that, I didn't sense it so much as a collapse, but more as a, the excruciating vulnerability of that, of having your genuine, love and care be rejected and seen in that.
Yeah.
And
yes.
the vulnerability of that, so you moved a lot of things in a very short space of time. So yeah, thank you for your courage and your willingness to do that.
Yeah.
At some point, Daniel, take a look at the chat box because there's a lot of appreciations.
Okay.
I'm going to call on Allison and then Laura in a moment.
Do you want to say something, Daniel? Just to think you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, just thank you so much. Yeah, that was really real and deep, and I feel quite different right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And you've just demonstrated how powerful this is and how completely transformative. I mean, really, we think, oh, happened. But a lot happened here that is so much deeper than, than we can guess.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Thank you, Rajyo.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Let's all twinkle Rajyo also. So we'll call on Allison and Laura in a moment, but I have a request. We're going to stay in group, so we all are watching together. I would like for people to please, using the chat box, private message me if you are interested in playing the role of coach. Any of you who want to do what Rajyo just did in your own way. Private message me if you are willing to do what Daniel just did, to be the role of the client, to have something actually authentic in your life that you'd like to have support for. And if any of you want to be sacred witness, the role that I just played, but then you'll observe and share, please let me know about that. So this way, each of you are privately letting me know which of those three roles you'd like to play. And maybe let me know how important it is. Like, Scott, I really prefer to just watch, or Scott, I would love to have a chance to coach, or Scott, I would really have something really alive for me to share. And that way I can kind of take a look in the chat box and kind of figure out who's going to do what next. Okay. Allison, there's something you want to share, and then we'll hear from Laura.
Hello. Just a quick, Daniel, I know we're all appreciating you so much. I just want to say that it's hard to do the first one. It's hard to be that person and show up. And not only did you show up for all of us, but you showed up very deeply for yourself. And I just still appreciate you. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask Rajyo if you could tell us, after going through that somatic experience, how do you personally gauge when the person is ready to verbalize their responses? Because sometimes when you go really deeply into your body and you're feeling everything, it almost makes it hard to get the words out verbally. And I'm just wondering, what are the things for us to notice when we're coaching to help somebody know when it's time to talk and when it's time to just hold silent space for them? Because I think that can be, I found in my own life that could be really tricky, because you don't want to force conversation before someone's ready to use their words. And when they're deeply feeling something, that can be a little tricky. So I'm wondering if you could address some of those questions.
Are you talking to me, Allison? Yeah.
There's a question for you, yeah.
Can you repeat that? Because I'm sorry, I just had to go pee. So
I totally understand. I've had 2 children. I was thinking the same thing. So, no, I was, my question was, sometimes when someone goes deep into that kind of somatic experience in their bodies and they are feeling everything that's happening, sometimes I find that their verbal centers just become non-functional for a while because they're so deeply in the physical experience. And I'm wondering how, as a coach, to help gauge when it's time to allow for silence and just feeling, and when it's time to perhaps solicit a verbal response or encourage some processing verbally, because I found that that is one of the hardest things for me is I often want to go into words too early. And so I've started to err on the side of not going into words at all until the person says, I'd like to talk about it. But I'm wondering if there's another way or what you would recommend.
Yeah, I think a good question. And I think it's very appropriate. Yeah, very often less is more. And trust your own body, your own somatic intelligence and awareness. Being attuned to them will let you know when it's time to speak and ask questions. And the main thing you want to do is to keep them present in the body. Sometimes when we go into nonverbal states, we can go into a little bit of dissociation, and that's not what we want. We want to keep them present here in the body. And also the processing of the, you saw Daniel, he went through 2 very strong reptilian responses. He immediately moved into the fight, and then he wanted to collapse, to disappear, to go into freeze. And then the feeling came of the tears and the sadness, and that was the release. Yeah, so that was actually, the strong release and opening that brought him back to his heart and his vulnerable sense of himself. And so, you want to watch for those, everybody. You want to watch for those little cues that are going to tell you, oh, there's a fight response coming here, or there's a flee response, and you want to encourage those. Yeah, what's that like? What do you feel in your body when you feel that? You want to express it. And it may not be a big expression. It may just be, oh, my fists are tightening. It may be that little. It may not be a big emotional catharsis. It doesn't need to be for there to be a release. Just the awareness, the somatic awareness of what's happening is enough. There's that fight response. There's that flee response. My legs want to move. So you want to watch for that, and you want to just really track them with your body and with your words also, helping them to become aware with the neocortex of what is actually happening in the body. I know I've got the sun on me, so I move. But yeah, is that helpful?
I wanted to add, Allison, you're muted. You're muted, Allison.
I'm so sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Yes, that was very helpful. I had just recently read Gottman's assessment of the different ways in which male and female process these things through the body, linked to, and I was just curious if you were familiar with that, because it was talking about going right back to the time when men were hunter-gatherers and they needed to stay in a heightened state in order to be safe, because they're hunting big game or they're being chased by something. And so evolutionarily, men would stay in that heightened state for longer for survival. And women tended to have the opposite effect, that they could get triggered and then come back into a calmer state very quickly, because they always had to be able to switch gears for the young and being able to take care of little humans. So they couldn't stay in it for as long. And I found that to be helpful insight when I'm dealing with the men that I love in my life. And I'm wondering if that's something that resonates with you as well.
Yeah, it's true. And also just generally men tend to be more head oriented, head centered, and less physically, aware, somatically aware. And women are, we're just attuned to the, you know, the family, the community, the kids. So we have that somatic awareness. It's just, I think it's just hardwired into us, but we're all learning. This is a new skill for all of us.
There's a really important thing, especially for you as coaches, that goes along with the whole thing about how the masculine brain and the feminine brain evolve differently. And that is that, generally speaking, this is a generalization, when there's an upset between a man and a woman, the man's impulse is to take space. The woman's impulse is to talk it through. And the reason for that is very similar. When men, remember, for thousands of years, we were in tribal culture. It's been very new that we've been in this kind of a culture. So as humankind evolved, men were usually out hunting or warring, where there was that intensity. And so the masculine brain, when stressed, actually needs solitude, because solitude creates the peacefulness necessary. And once in the agitated state, it's hard to break out of it. So that's why spaciousness is what's needed. Whereas women were in community and they were constantly in communication with each other. And so communication equals safety. Whereas for a man, solitude equals safety. So that's why, generally speaking, men want to take space and women want to talk it through right now. And it's an evolutionary thing. Laura, you're up. And by the way, I am going to have Laura be our next client, by the way. Just wanted to let you know that, Laura.
Yeah, I think my question was answered, but I just want to call it out, just that, so in this process that we just saw with Daniel, and thank you, Daniel, that was just so beautiful. That's kind of the complete process. That's where the healing comes in, is as you move through that, then you kind of know what to do next time when you feel that same thing inside, or, you know, you're having a reaction. Then you just allow yourself to, I'm just asking this, like, do you allow yourself to feel that anger? Let's say it's Daniel, for instance, you feel that anger, breathe into that, and then feel the sadness and notice. And the last thing that I want to say, if this is all correct, is that it's all a gift, right? That's what the mind can tell me, is that it's all a gift of something that is trying to be healed. That's why it's coming up right now, because it's something from probably childhood that wants to be more healed. And I just want to check in with that.
You had a question, that was a question for me or
Yeah,
Daniel?
it was for you, Rajyo.
I apologize. I was reading the chat. So repeat it briefly.
Yeah, I'll repeat it briefly. Just that is it sort of a complete session when they've gone through exactly what Daniel went through in the therapeutic thing? Like, is that now he has a tool to walk away with, and to not only has he had an embodiment of release, but now he gets to know the next time something like this happens, that not only is it a gift because it's probably something that's still trying to be known, right, inside, and wants to be healed, and now he has a practice because he did it with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. That somatic intelligence is online for him now. And of course it helped, you know, with the support of me and the group, and him feeling safe enough to be able to go there. You know, often as children, there was nobody there holding space. So it's harder to do on your own. Yeah. But that intelligence is online for him. He knows what to do. You know, now when that happens again.
Thank you.
Stay with it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good.
All right. So I think we're going to do another demonstration. And I've kind of been chatting a little bit, working it out. It's funny. The people willing to coach are all saying, not the next one, right? I've got 3 people that have all said, I'm willing to do it, but not the next one. So I am going to choose one of you to be the next one, and know that it's I love and respect all of you. Allison, I'd like for you, if you'd be willing, to be our next coach. Are you willing to?
I'm happy to do that. Is it okay if we take like a 2-minute pee break? Because I feel that I could hold space much better if I could hold space.
Sure.
Inwardly. Is that okay?
Sure. Rather than losing the whole thing, go pee. Go forth and pee.
Okay.
Go forth and pee. Yeah, because I don't want to take a big break and everybody leave and then come back. So if anybody needs to go take care of your business. And just a couple of things to riff on. Actually, when the question was asked, about processing, as coaches, it's a constant challenge. When do I listen? When do I speak? When do I offer tools? And when do I hold space? And of course, that's not a question that I could possibly answer without, because it completely varies situation by situation. I will say that for me, what is helpful, my nature is very mental, very communication based, and to jump in and fix. So I'm always having to learn to slow down, practice listening. And what has helped me is the mantra that I've been running now for 20 years of, I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. Now, I've probably said those words to myself, no exaggeration, at least 10,000 times, right? It's a constant mantra. Because I've anchored it in as a mantra, when I'm in session, if I don't have 100% clarity, yes, now's the time to speak. Now's the time to listen. If I don't have that clarity, I'll close my eyes and I'll just run the mantra a couple of times. I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And in a sense, I'm surrendering my intellectual mind, trying to figure it out, and becoming more connected to the whole, to the oneness, right? And by doing that, magic happens. I mean, sometimes I'll connect to the higher self of my client, and that higher self will speak to the client through me, right? Sometimes maybe, who knows how it works? Maybe it's guides, maybe it's Suchi, maybe it's, some angelic being watching will whisper into my ear what to say or to do, or what to not do, okay? But I've been cultivating, if you will, faith in a higher power to move through me. So it's not up to my little human brain to figure it out. And that's kind of something that's been very useful for me. So whatever any of you can do, and I'm sure you all have practices already, cultivating your practice of trusting, whatever you want to call it, higher power, higher self, God, life, to flow through you. So you've got the great ally of something bigger than yourself supporting you, as opposed to as a human being feeling like you have to figure it out. Does that make sense to people? Yeah. Okay. So Allison's going to be our coach, and Laura is going to be our client, and Anna Cabrera is going to be our secret witness. Okay. And so, Laura, I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
And Allison, you may want to unmute yourself so that you can coach.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
I'm so happy to see you.
Thank
you. I want you to start by seeing if you can go deeply into that time, the thing that is causing the triggers to come up for you. And when you feel ready, I'd like you to use your breath to progressively go deeper into those feelings. And as you let the breath out, I want you to notice what feelings are rising to the surface.
So I'm noticing that, and without going into the story, it's just, it's like I feel my mind just goes into like it's Groundhog Day. And I just feel a lot of, my chest is pounding. I have tears in my eyes. Shortness of breath. I feel really, really scared. I feel like I want to run.
Yeah.
I want to run.
As you're in that space, I want you to try to start with what you're feeling up in your shoulders and in your head. See if you can notice what muscles are holding tension. Also notice anything that's going on in the back of your throat. What does it feel like to breathe? What does it feel like to swallow? That space between your eyes, how does that feel? Does it feel tight?
Yeah, it feels really tight right here, and my shoulders feel so tense, and it's hard to get a deep breath, but
Yeah.
it helps if I kind of expand my diaphragm a little bit.
That's great. Keep going.
Angry. I felt so angry. I just feel really mad. And I want to make that sound. I just want to.
Please go. Do it.
And then I
Keep.
feel sad. I feel sad. And I just want to protect my chest. And
I'm wondering, as you sit there with your arms around your body, can you feel the pressure of your hands?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Can I ask you to give yourself the weight and the warmth of your hands?
Yeah.
And let yourself feel that you are holding yourself in this moment. And that you have yourself. You're not going to let yourself fall. You've got you.
Yeah.
And then as you continue to be in that sadness, I'm wondering if you can use the breath to move that through your body.
Yeah.
And I want you to imagine that sadness is flowing through you, kind of in waves, just to let it wash over you. And notice as it washes in those waves, the first time what it feels like, and then maybe what it feels like as it goes the second and the third.
Yeah, it feels like a tingling kind of just went through my whole, from the top of my body down to even down into my feet. And it's very soothing. I'm still shaking, but it's lessening because I think the hug and just leaning my head.
Yes.
And it's calming down now.
I'm wondering if you can now start to sense, as those waves of sadness have moved through you and you've held yourself, can you start to notice things that you are touching?
Yeah, I feel my body's in the chair. I mean, on the couch, and I can feel the weight of my legs on the couch, and my hands are now pressing into the sofa, and I can feel my back in the pillow, and I feel a lot more grounded right now.
I would like you to bring your attention to what's going on in your face and your head now. Remember how you had that tightness that was building up between your eyes and the lump in your throat? I'm wondering if you could notice what it feels like now.
Yeah, it feels, I feel a little headachy now, but it's kind of relaxed. And I feel a little bit of tension around my eyes, but it's also relaxing. And it feels, I can take a deeper breath. Ah, God.
I love that laughter.
Man, did I go. Thank you,
You
Daniel.
did.
And thank you, Allison. But thank you, Daniel, for that example, because I was like, I'm not holding back. Whew. And I just
Are you at this point, Laura,
Yes.
if you were to say any word that would describe how you're feeling now, could you give me just a few words so that I know whether this has been something that's complete or if there's more work that we need to do together?
In this moment, it feels like I can just conquer the world right now. Like I feel empowered. I feel like, wow, I really just embodied something so deep and so profound and so beautiful. And thank you, Allison. It's such a gift. You're just unbelievable.
Oh, okay. This is about your experience, not mine, but thank you so much for letting me work with you. What an incredible honor and privilege. And I have so much love for you and for all the people in this class. I'm so humbled that I get to learn how to be a minister of spirit. So thank you. And I'm learning a lot. One of the things, Laura, that you taught me so much is to get out of the way. Just get out of the way of my own mind and what like maybe I thought might be the most helpful, and just notice and be fully present with you. And Rajyo, you taught me so much just by watching their first session, and Daniel taught me so much by being fully present for his experience. And then Laura, my goodness, thank you for trusting me to go there with you.
I was really scared to do it, by the way, you guys. And I have a panic disorder since I was in my mid-30s, and I almost pushed the button and said, Scott, I'm not going to do it. But I just, I knew I was safe, and here so.
Laura, I love you so much. Thank you.
Let's twinkle both Allison and Laura. Big twinkling to both Allison and Laura. Thank you. And beautiful. I want to give Anna Cabrera, our sacred witness, a chance just to share anything you've observed, Anna.
I'm so appreciating that I came to this class today, and Rajyo, how you set the tone, and I'm learning. I've been studying this for a long time, and I feel like there are surprises here for me today, which is great. But for Laura, the first thing, I love how you were saying the panic disorder, because the first thing I was really aware of is your eyes were closing and you were going in. I could feel the whole room. What a gift it is to have all these people here with you. We're not afraid. We're willing to go there. Somebody might have had fear come up, but in general, I felt so much safety and love for you here. And so much like tenderness and deep appreciation for both of you sharing this truth. A truth that we often can't, we're in the grocery store, how are you? I'm great. And the power of how quickly it moved. And Allison, I just noticed how when you anchored her with the hands, really helped anchor that and support that. And I'm actually curious how it was for you, Laura, because I definitely personally, I have issues with auditory overstimulation, and the sound of a voice can sometimes interrupt me from my process. But so I noticed Allison did a lot of talking, but I also know that can help ground somebody, that I'm with you here, I'm with you here. It's like whatever you're saying, you're just kind of saying, I'm with you, I'm with you. Don't go back into that trauma alone again.
Yeah, and it was very reassuring, Allison. It was right on the border of, but I just, I feel Allison's care so deeply that everything she said was actually helping me, when I was, because I do, Rob always takes my hand off of here because his shoulder hurts a lot. But, it felt so great to just want to hug myself. And I don't even know why I did that. But the fact that Allison kept saying, yes, just hug yourself, that was so helpful. And it was grounding me without getting me out of it, which was perfect, So thank you, Anna and Allison.
Yeah, I mostly just feel really touched. I don't know I'm wondering if anyone else has a little observation I think that's all I have to offer at the moment.
Thank you, Anna.
Hmm. Just want to say thank you to the whole group for creating this safe space. Isn't it amazing that we can online create such a beautiful, intimate space of safety, even with new people coming in today? So thank you, everybody. Let's do another round. Erin is going to be our client, and Daniel is going to be our coach. And who would like to be a sacred witness? Anybody willing to be a sacred witness? The role that Mimi. Okay, great. So again, Erin's our client, Daniel's our coach, Mimi's our sacred witness.
Can I just put in a little 2 cents here?
Of course.
Differently from coaching, where you're much more directive, it's really important to allow the client to have their own movement, to not be directing their attention to one place or another. And you did a great job, Allison. I don't have any judgment about it, but this is just a thing in helping the nervous system to find its own way. Very present in the tracking, but let the client take the lead, so that their own nervous system is guiding and informing them. Yeah, that was my only little comment on that. But otherwise, great job. You did a really great job.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rajyo, for that. And I'm going to put the spotlight on Erin. And of course, Daniel, I'm now turning it over to you to lead.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Daniel.
You can hear me okay?
Great, yeah, thank you.
So you've thought of a recent or deep trigger that we'll work with? Okay. Excuse me. So, yeah, first of all, let's just take a deep breath together. I just really want to set the intention of creating a safe space for you and your feelings. Maybe just really tune into your surroundings right now. What are you noticing about your surroundings right now? Just outside of your body.
You know, I feel like what I'm processing is something that's in the outside of, like, it's in the collective in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really feeling that. And that's why what motivated me to be a client, because I do feel this is in the air. And it actually pertains to what you were talking about, like the difference between animals and us, and how animals can let go of things and we tend to not so much. So, yeah.
So what is that? I want to try and keep us from story. So what is that? What is your experience of what are you noticing about your experience of the outside world? The greater.
The fact that there is such a thing as trauma, really. The fact that we allow that as a family.
Mm-hmm. How does that feel when you think about that?
It's really upsetting. It's really heartbreaking, I feel.
You feel that in your body?
My whole body.
Yeah. Any place in particular more?
Personally, I feel a lot of tension in like my root area.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I just feel like the ache in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Does that feeling want to make a sound? Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
As a man, my heart breaks that our collective, the beings we're meant to protect, have had to go through so much.
Mm-hmm.
That hurts here.
Yeah. I imagine that's a lot of sadness that you're feeling in your heart. Yeah. Hmm. Is there any other feeling that comes now that you've like really done a beautiful job of feeling and expressing that? Is there any changes happening?
Yeah, I really feel the emotion that was causing such tension and contraction and shortness of breath has lifted, and there's more energy flow and more ease. A little like energetic vapors almost. Off gassing, if you will. And I'm sweating. There's definite emotion being released. Old emotion.
How does your root chakra feel right now?
There's definitely less contraction, and you know, I feel like a lot of this has come from like my first trauma, which is to me like parental discipline. I think we all just are shocked when we get by our parent, and I think that always in me personally created like you just want to fall to the ground and contract.
Yeah.
My hips, my hip flexors specifically, that area is there's like that, wound of rejection. I did it wrong. I'm flinching, like, oh no.
Are you still feeling that, or has that been relieved a bit with your expression?
Felt release a bit.
Okay. And how about the aching in your heart? How does that feel now? What's the tone of that?
Yeah, I mean, with this incredibly loving environment, there's so much release, and just that aching in the heart I feel like there's support, like other people feel, they hear me, they understand. Yeah, we all have gone through this, and we all probably share this. So yeah, I feel empathy, and it's good.
And how about the sensations of your body as it interacts with your furniture there and your room, your space?
I am feeling the moisture, the sweat of that release. So
yeah.
They lean up against my back there. I feel that dampness, and just, I'm here.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to express or that you need right now? About your feelings?
Just so much gratitude that we have each other to work this stuff out, and in this group especially. I'm so incredibly grateful. You taught me you all have taught me much invaluable wisdom, and I thank you.
Do you feel complete for now, Aaron?
I do. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
So much.
Beautiful.
That's Twinkle, Daniel, and Aaron. And good job, guys. Beautiful, beautiful. I love seeing men working together. It's really nice. Mimi, as our sacred witness, anything you want to share that you observed?
I do. So beautiful. Okay. Aaron, thank you. I really felt hugely present for all the pieces of where you were going. This is just some of the pieces that I took notes around in witnessing what really resonated with me as you were speaking. I really connected with your aching in your heart and in your root. And then I recognized, like, as you were speaking, your breath lessened. So your shoulders started like going up, your breath was lessening and lessening. And so as Daniel was kind of walking you through, I noticed like your entire body constricting. So I just wanted to honor that both of you were seeing that in one another, and that flow of energy of how you were able to stay present with it and then kind of feel it all over your body, all the way down to your root. So that really came alive. What I found incredible was just before you mentioned I'm thinking it's your need for security in caring and the responsibility in caring for, like, the stewardness of you of caring for society. That weight, I was witnessing you just like what I would consider shame or guilt. But I don't know if that's accurate. Is that accurate? I just witnessed you like constricting and putting your head down, and as you were talking about that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
accurate. Just a collective shame for the mass, you know,
Okay.
that has not been able to hold a world free of trauma in a way.
So I really, sorry you were breaking up. I only caught part of that.
I just said thank you so much at the end, but yeah, just shame over the collective, you know, masculine in us all that has not been able to secure a world that can be trauma free, you know, until now.
Right. So for me, like, I really saw the weight that you carried there with your whole body, the way that your whole body kind of took that upon itself. And it really opened up my heart space watching that in you, and how responsible it felt to me. Like, wow, that's such a high level of responsibility. So thank you for that. My last part was just this, the high need that I see, that I witnessed, which was the parental care and the deep care. And then once you connected to that deep care, like that parentalness, your whole body started to relax again, as Daniel felt like he was guiding you back into your space. So I just really honor and respect your wisdom around high level parental care for the people who are around you, and that you want to be present for. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Very good witnessing.
Beautiful witnessing. Beautiful. Twinkling Mimi. There's something I want to point out that, and obviously Aaron did get into an amazingly somatic space, but he started pretty intellectual. You know, he started off in kind of an intellectual thing about, you know, the macrocosm and such. And Daniel was masterful at bringing him into his body. It was a really beautiful demonstration of watching Daniel guide him from his head into his body. Now, we all were a little bit lucky that Aaron got there as quickly as he did, right? And a lot of that was the masterful job. But sometimes the client will stay in their head because they're afraid to go, especially men. They're afraid to get into that vulnerable place. So, you know, it's common that the man will want to keep talking about it or telling the story or finding some way to avoid those feelings that are uncomfortable. So big kudos for Daniel to guide him there, and big kudos for Aaron to go there. Yeah. I'm going to wrap up our class for now, but luckily
May I just make one point that I just noticed?
Of course.
Beautiful work. Thank you both for your willingness. Thank you all for your courage in going there. And Daniel, great facilitation. Just a mark that I want you to put in your little notes is that you want to always start the session by having people really grounded in their environment and to what helps them feel safe and to relax into themselves. And you want to always end the session by having the client open their eyes. Now, I noticed that Aaron, pretty much had his eyes closed the whole time. And it's wonderful when we want to go inside. And often we can get a little bit kind of, lost here. And it's really important, we're wounded and we're traumatized alone in our aloneness. And we heal in relationship. So when you bring people back from a session, you always want to bring them back into relationship and have them have their eyes open and orient to the room, to the environment, kind of check out how am I in relationship to the environment now and how my relationship to the other. It's really important. It's a kind of small thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, it's really, really valuable. Thank you for pointing those things out. Thank you very much. And while we're on it, let's give Rajyo once again some really big appreciation. Thank you so much, Rajyo, for just
honored to be for inviting me, Scott.
Yeah, it's awesome. And we will continue this practice Wednesday night. So the Wednesday practice group will be, and I know Anna Prabha will probably be our first person coaching because she wanted to do coaching today. So between now and Wednesday, for those of you who especially want to practice coaching, let me know. Send me a private message. For those of you who have issues that you want to process, let me know also if possible, so I can kind of set it up. And it might be valuable, especially for those of you as coaches, to watch this entire recording again, because there's so much richness, there's so much. So as always, I will post the link to the recording. I'll post it in our Facebook private message thread and in our Facebook group. Again, beautiful. I just love this class. I really do. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I look forward to hopefully seeing all of you on Wednesday night. Bye-bye.